I'll do. So, welcome to this beginner's guide for ship components going into 4.5. Something a little bit different from what I normally do. There should be a little bit less memes and shit talking in this, and there should be a bit more info to actually get you going. But this should help you get into grips with what's best for your play styles and what you do in game, and give you a good foundation for getting out into the verse in 4.5. If you're not that new to the game, please do stick around. There will probably be a few things that you didn't realise, and you know, every day's a school day, why not? The first things first, the website that I'm using here is called Erkul. You can get it by going to the link in the top, erkul.games/live/calculator. If you go on Google and type in Erkul DPS or just Erkul, you'll probably wind up on this site. So let's get into the overview of your power and why power is important. It's no surprise you need power for your ship to run, for your ship to function, to power your shields, coolers, weapons, engines. It's a bit of a no-brainer. So obviously you need the appropriate amount of power output, which is right here. So like I said before, this will go into your weapons, your engine, and your shields. Generally you want these fully powered where you can help it. This is more achievable in fighters than it is in, say, multi-crew ships and stuff like that. If you can't power all of them, for me, the most important one to keep fully powered is your shields, then your weapons, and then your engines. Having your shields fully powered will dictate how quickly your shields will regen. We can't stay in the fight, or we can't escape from the fight if we're dying. Next, obviously, your weapons. You want to be able to shoot back at some point. Having your weapons fully powered is going to be pretty crucial. And then obviously engines, that dictates how quickly you regenerate boost. As far as I'm aware, that's all it dictates, just how quickly you regenerate boost. So with that said, let's take a look at a couple of examples. We'll take a look at the Anvil Arrow first, which is one that's generally very easy to fully power. As you can see, I've got stealth components in the coolers, a civilian grade quantum drive, which is the second quickest in game, a Concord civilian grade A shield, and then Panther laser repeaters and Bulldog laser repeaters. And up in this corner here on the power screen, everything is as fully powered as it can. This one, depending on your capacitors, you can't power further. But that is maximally powered. Maximally? And then here, we have the Guardian MX. This is an example of when I can't power everything. Again, I've even dropped a cooler out of here, so I should have more power available. Shields fully powered, weapons fully powered, engines, not a hope in hell. But it's okay, because we're still going to have good regen from this, and the more important ones, in my opinion, are fully powered. So with all that in mind, let's take a look at the ship components individually, have a quick overview of them, so if you're new to the verse, you'll have a rough idea of what you want for your build and what's best. I'll obviously give you my top picks for what I do from a PvP sort of standpoint, but after that, it's up to you what you go for. So first up on the list, let's go over shields. There are a few key things to note around shields. Ballistics will penetrate shields, but they will take a damage reduction. This is normally a reduction of, I think it's around 80 or 20%. It's one of those numbers. The ballistics won't do full damage until your shields are down, and they do take shields down dramatically slower than other weapons like lasers. Which gets me to my next point. Lasers will be completely halted by shields until the shields are down. Lasers will shred shields, so that's worthwhile, you know, keeping that in mind. There's a priority in the way that I select shields, so I will prioritize the regen delay, then the pool HP, and then the power max. How many power pips this is going to take away with me using this shield generator. As you can see, when filtered by health pool, the 7SA Concord has one of the best regen delay times, and then that coupled with the pool HP, for me, a slightly lower power max than the military grades, which now you'd have to grind for if you don't have them on stock. For me, the 7SA and the 7 series shields on, say, size 2 or a size 3 shield gen, they're the best to go for. It's just, I think, arguably the best. So next up, power plants. There's not a whole bunch to talk about when it comes to power plants. Obviously, all I'd say is you just want a high HP, and then obviously have the appropriate amount of power generation, because if you don't, you can't power all your components, and then that sucks. In this case, the industrial grade A Breton for size 1, probably my go-to. It's got good power generation and a really good HP pool. Again, the military ones, unless you have them standard, keep those in that case because they have more ship HP. You must know the EM max is higher That'll mean that electromagnetically you can be spotted from a greater distance, but it's pretty negligible if you've got military grade A or military any grade really to start with. Unless the HP is lower, you don't really need to upgrade it. So, coolers, this might be a slightly non-meta take, I'd imagine, but I have and always will go with stealth grade coolers. They draw the lowest power normally. As far as I'm aware, they have the lowest EM and IR ratings. They do take a hit on component HP, so if they do start taking hits, they're more likely to fail quicker, but I bank on you might not be able to hit me. So, you know, it's however you want to take it. And again, for coolers, if you haven't seen it already, my personal favourite and normally always my go-to, especially with size 1, will be the Vapor Block. It's the stealth grade B component. Now, quantum drives. What you're wanting to do with quantum drive, in my opinion, and this is solely from a bounty hunter's perspective, you want to strike the balance between speed and cooldown time. The fastest quantum drives normally have the slowest cooldown times, unless it's, say, the VK00, which just is the best. You've got to find that in contested zones, I believe, or by the Alpha Wolf. So for me personally, my gold standard of quantum drives is the Atlas. If we filter by maximum speed, you can see here the VK00 is the quickest, the Colossus then the second, and then the Atlas, the civilian grade A, is the third quickest. However, as I've mentioned in other videos before, it does have the quickest cooldown time. Now, if you're a bounty hunter or you're wanting to get into bounty hunting and you're chasing someone, that cooldown time can make or break your entire hunt for one player, especially since now you can only track one bounty. For me, I'd normally always pick the Atlas if I'm going out bounty hunting, and if you want to do the same, I suggest you do too. Other than that, if you're hauling cargo, maybe do the Colossus. You know, it's 21 seconds. That's a long time stood still. My favorites for the quantum drives: size 1, Atlas; size 2, the Hemera; and size 3, the Erebos. Right, so now let's get into the big one. Let's get into weapons. So, give you a quick overview or a TLDR. If you don't want to stick around for the whole breakdown, I feel this could be the one that takes up the most time. So, bombs like the Thunderball are great to have if you're a bounty hunter, as if you don't want to get out of your ship to go hunt someone, you can always just fly straight over them and drop a bomb. I'm pretty sure the size 3, so they do have a good bang, and, you know, it's really useful in some situations, especially if they're hiding out in a Polaris and their hangar is open on the top. You can just fly in and drop a bomb, then fly away. And there's a good chance you might take the Polaris out. I don't know if that's been patched. I haven't done it since, so who knows. Next, missiles. So, if I'm not mistaken, the current meta is still the same as it has been since Master Modes became a thing. Your top dog is still the electromagnetic missile. EM signatures, as you can see here, normally give off the biggest number, meaning you can lock that missile from a greater distance. Me personally, I'd always take the electromagnetic, then the infrared, and then if I really have to, then a cross section. It's worth noting with missiles, and I personally didn't realize this until recently. You know, you can give me shade in the comments if you wish to, I wouldn't blame you. When it comes to using countermeasures for missiles, if you're coming from, say, flight simulator style games or war simulator style games like I came from, you might imagine that chaff will stop electromagnetic or cross-section missiles. That is not the case. If you are locked with a missile and a missile is coming after you, use flares, just normal flares, or they're called decoys in this game. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Decoys, decoys, decoys. Chaff is used primarily for masking your ship's lock on someone else's radar. That's all chaff is for. And then last but not least on the TLDR list, before we get into the thick of it, we have obviously the ship weapons, the ship guns. So this is obviously, as a quick list, is very build or situation dependent. So me personally, I would take laser/ballistic repeaters as my #1 spot, then ballistic gatlings, then laser or ballistic cannons, followed by mass drivers specifically, followed by distortion weapons, then followed by scatterguns. But honestly, I would rather just not take scatterguns, if I'm being totally honest. Let's go through the laser repeaters first. I think CFs are still the gold standard when it comes to laser repeaters. For me, they get a 9 out of 10. The only reason they get a 9 out of 10, as you can see compared to the rest of them here, the damage is lacking. The next on the list, even though I've put it at the bottom, my next highest rated also gets a 9 out of 10, is the NDB series. NDB series is another gold standard, so to speak, even though I've just said the CFs are. These pick up in damage. However, you can see here the CF Panther repeater speed is 1800 meters a second. The NDB30 is 1400 meters a second, which is slower. It is the slightest of L's, but it is the one and only reason that I do give the NDBs a 9 out of 10 as well as the CFs. Then, last but by no means least, the attritions. The attrition series is by far and away the PvE go-to. This is the gold standard in PvE. You do massive damage compared to the other two that I've mentioned. If I'm talking PvE, these are a 10 out of 10. However, Star Citizen is a sandbox game. You are going to get pulled up on by a player at some point. If you have attritions versus a player, you are going to get your shit pushed in. Trying to hit a Gladius or an Arrow with attritions, and the Gladius and Arrow know what they're doing, you will suffer. You will suffer every day. You're
gonna have a bad time.
So, for that reason, attritions if you're playing PvE, but just be ready to lose if someone rolls on you. Okay, so next up we have laser cannons. So again, I've managed to do it right this time. We've gone top down in my ratings. In first place, we have the Ballistic Cannons. They have the mid damage, they have mid speed, but you know, it strikes that balance between true PvP cannon and true PvE cannon. It's the NDB of the cannon world, the Omnisky, or Omnisky, whatever you call it, I don't care. Next up, we've got the FL series. This is basically the CF Panther repeater, or CF repeater of the cannon world. Not really a whole bunch to say other than that. It's like someone's copy and pasted stats. And then, yeah, you guessed it, the M series here is basically the attrition of the cannon world. Highest damage, slowest speed, you will suffer if you get caught by a player. For me, I would always prefer the repeater over the cannon unless you are absolutely cracked with aim and you can guarantee you're going to be pinging those shots, because if you miss, that's a whole bunch of alpha damage that you've missed putting down range. So let's get into ballistics. Before I carry on with this, I just want you to know that every ballistic gets a universal -1 mark, because I am going to run out of ammo at some point. That sucks ass. That gets a -1 regardless. So let's hit up some repeaters. Ballistic repeaters are probably the ones that I would go to first if they weren't so slow. The SW series, which is realistically the only, I'm pretty sure it's the only repeaters you can get in game, but the damage is great. They're 1200 meters a second, so they're slightly slower than NDBs for instance, but they really do pack a punch. I'm pretty sure these hit harder than attritions. No, slightly less, but you know, you're doing immediate damage to hull right from the get-go. So ballistic repeaters are cool. I take them every now and then, but realistically, no. I say that for PvP. I'm always thinking PvP. I'm sorry if you don't play PvP. So next up, we got Ballistic Gatlings. I would probably go with the GT series out of these, the Mantis, for namesake. Mantis is a solid choice, great round speed, great ammo reserves as well. Pretty sure that you gotta get 4,314 total ammo, and you'll, in one burst or one pull of the trigger before you overheat, you will get 196 downrange. It slightly lacks on damage compared to the T21s, but you know, for the round speed being 1600, you know, it was a pretty obvious trade-off that you were going to get. Then we get the T21 series. T21 is a very powerful ballistic Gatling. Does great damage, has a good pen distance as well, which is how far you'll get through the hull to touch or tickle components on the enemy ship. Giggity. Again, slightly slower speed, but you know, you're probably now noticing that the more damage you get, the slower the speed. It's a trade-off that's pretty universal throughout Star Citizen. Great ammo reserves, nothing to complain about. If you're more PvE, these are great. If you're going for PvP more and you're really desperate to use Gatlings, probably to the GT series, 8 out of 10. So let's get on to some ballistic cannons. First up, we've got the GT series of the cannon world, and this namesake, Tarantula. For a cannon, it's just the damage lacks. It doesn't really do much other than tickle. Again, quite high speed. I'm guessing you saw that coming. We'll move on to the, I'll call them the sword series, but you'll see about it. 10, 11, 12 series, and it'll have some sort of something sword. I call them the sword series. Statistically seems to be a bit of a copy and paste of the GT series, maybe a slightly less damage. You know, it gets more ammo, so is that worth one more point? Yeah, we'll go with it. Now next, oddly enough, the Deadbolt series, I've actually graded the highest. I've given them an 8 out of 10, but with a big preface of, promise me you'll never take these for PvP. Only take them for PvE, because Deadbolts have a speed of 900 meters a second. I'm pretty sure I could throw the shells quicker than that. You do absolutely slap with damage, and the base pen is 5 meters, so there's not a lot you're not going to penetrate with this shot. PvE, this is a great one to take, especially against bigger ships. But again, if you're planning on doing PvP in these, you better be cracked, or else you're not going to have a fun time. So next up, let's have a little talk about distortion weapons. Honestly, distortion weapons are kind of stinky. They're absolutely awful against shields. They are just awful versus shields. However, if the shields are down, distortion weapons do direct sort of like distortion. Well, this just clicked. Distortion weapons do direct distortion damage to power plants, and it can shut down enemy ships. These are the ones for really securing that soft death. These would be great if you're rolling with an AUG and you've got a couple of AUG mates taking on a bunch of fighters. As soon as they say, oh, I've got a couple here with shields down, you could roll in with a Gladius with full distortion build and soft death those ships easily. Is it worth the hassle? Probably not. I would just... if you're PvPing, there's a good fair chance that you want them dead anyway. If it's against a bigger ship, you're probably going to soft death them regardless, unless you keep pumping rounds at them or you also have a big ship. So I just wouldn't really bother with distortion weapons. I'm sorry if you swear by them. Please feel free to tell me I'm wrong in the comments. Mass drivers. Mass drivers are a bit of a meme. I can't decide whether I like them or not. The only one worth taking realistically is the Strife Mass Driver. Strife Mass Driver, it will penetrate quite a lot. Has 5k a second speed, 5 kilometers a second. You can shoot from 5.5k out, providing you can aim. It does take a little bit of power. You'll generate more EM as you charge it, I believe. These are cool for, say, things like sniper builds. So let's take this saber here. Let's drop a whole bunch of stealth components on it, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So as you can see here, we've got Strife Mass Drivers on every weapon slot. We can shoot from, again, 5.5 kilometers out. They have an effective range. We've got 2.1 kilometers, 6.1 kilometers, and 3.8 kilometers for infrared, EM, and cross-section. That means they'll be able to see us at 6.1 kilometers. But wait, this gets horny. The saber, as we can see all the way down here in the bottom corner, has a reduction in signature buff for electromagnetic, IR, and cross-section signatures. Which, if we hit up a little bit of quick math, 6.1 kilometers, minus 40%, they won't be able to spot us until 3.6 kilometers away. You might be able to see where this is going. That means with Strife Mass Drivers, we can sit at 5.5 kilometers away from someone and shoot them, and they won't be able to see us, and depending on how good their eyesight is, we'll be able to see where the shots are coming from. Because they're very fast. They don't create a lot of visual effects as far as I remember. Effectively, we've just become a sniper in a spaceship. This is memey as hell. Does it work all the time? No, not really, because a quick ping with someone, they can spot there's like a cross-section out in, you know, so far distance away and just fly towards it. If you catch someone who doesn't know what they're doing, you'll have a great time. You've got lower shields, lower power plants, and lower coolers, all because of the stealth grade components. Lower in HP, you're not going to have a good time.
You're gonna have a bad time.
And then, last on the list, we have Scatterguns. So, laser scatterguns are an absolute 10 out of 10 if you need to take shields down quickly. But after you've taken the shields down, most scatterguns, honestly, it's more effective to just open chat and hurl abuse at them to stop them from fighting. That's realistically it. I mean, yeah, they've got decent pen. Obviously, it's basically a space shotgun. So, you know, if you don't know where components are, yeah, maybe. The speed's arse. The damage, when you really break it down and understand where the damage is arse, because it's like pellets. It's not, you're not doing that in one shot. That's spread across however many pellets. So, is it worth it? My opinion, no, not really. You want a one guy that's in a small ship with scatterguns, jumps in, takes down some shields, jumps out. Yeah, sure, cool, that could definitely work. But if they get caught off guard and have to fight their way out, they're screwed. They're absolutely screwed. Unless you're all really good pilots and can back them up. Other than that, I just avoid scatterguns. But yeah, I hope all of this has given you a decent little insight into weapons, components and ship builds, and now you've got a decent little sort of base of knowledge that you can go away and start making your own choices. They could be totally different to mine. You could copy a few of mine. I'll throw some of my Erkul builds in the description. It's totally up to you. But yep, have fun in the verse. See you later.